This video is a playback of the community feedback that we heard on the draft community strategic plan following 6 weeks of consultation in May and June earlier this year. This is the first of 2 videos. In about a month's time, we'll be able to share with you the updated community strategic plan that has been updated based on the feedback that we heard from you all. My name's Giselle and I'm from Right Lane Consulting. We've been in partnership with Murray River Council for about 9 months, and we've been involved in this project as this is a strategy document for and by the community. And so we've been brought in as a third party to help the community provide their perspectives to council so we can create this plan. So this presentation will take about 12 minutes and I'm going to cover 6 topics. First, I'm going to do a bit of a recap on what exactly a community strategic plan is and where we're at in the process of developing this plan. I'll also take us through the elements of the draft community strategic plan that we tested with you, the community, and the process that we took to engage with you all to get your perspectives. I'll spend the most of the time on the community feedback that we heard. And finally, I'm going to wrap up and talk about what happens next in this process. So to recap, the Community Strategic Plan is a community-led plan that identifies priorities and aspirations of the community. It covers a period of 10 years and is an overarching strategic plan that guides the Council's 4-year delivery program and 1-year operational plan. It's delivered by the Council as well as partners such as federal and state agencies and community organisations. And you can see that it's such a foundational document for the Council as all of its important plans flow from this community strategic plan. So we're at the very early stages of developing this CSP. So you see it referred to as the CSP. And so as I mentioned earlier, we gathered your input in May and June, and now we're at stage 3 of a 10-stage process. So as I mentioned, really early on. And we're at the stage now where we need to refine the draft within council, taking on board your feedback and iterating it to create the next version of that. So we tested key statements from the draft strategic plan with the community over the last few months. And so these are the different elements that we tested: the purpose, the 10-year aspiration, and the strategic themes. We had to get creative and use a variety of different methods to get your feedback on the community strategic plan. Ordinarily, we would have come face-to-face, run a couple of town halls and facilitated a couple of consultation processes. Because of COVID-19, we had to use different methods. And you can see here we used 4 different kinds of methods. And so through these channels, we engaged with a total of 38 people. We facilitated some network consultations with representatives from business and tourism organisations within council. We also facilitated a conversation with representatives from community organisations within council. Some of you have participated on the Your Say Murray River platform in completing the online survey. And so that's individuals who live in, work or own businesses in council, and the average age there was 50 plus. We also wanted to make sure that those that weren't online at this moment weren't going to miss out on giving us their perspectives. And so we arranged a number of phone calls with older residents who were supported by Murray River Council carers to be able to complete the survey, but by phone. I'm now going to take us through a summary of feedback from the community. I'm not going to go into complete detail and read everything that's on the page. A PDF with the detailed feedback will be available on the Your Say Murray River platform for you to be able to download. Similarly, if you do want to stop and read some of the feedback, you can just hit pause on the video and then keep going. So the first thing we tested with you was our draft purpose statement, which is to enable a healthy, livable and prosperous community. The feedback that we heard from you is first we asked you about whether you could describe in your own words what you think the purpose of the council is. And so it's a couple of themes you can see here on the page, and one that I'm going to call out here is that the role of the council is to provide beneficial services for the good of all. We also asked if you agreed with the purpose statement, and 80% of you said yes. And 80% comfort level is really great for a first draft. We also asked you what you think is missing from the purpose statement. And so some of you said that there needs to be a bit of a reference to the small town atmosphere and adequate amenities, because that's something that draws visitors and others to visit and stay in retirement. There are some wording suggestions and a couple of other questions there too. We then tested our 10-year aspiration to create a thriving community within River Country where people want to live, visit, and invest by working with businesses, community groups, and neighbouring councils, as well as advocating the needs of community with governments. And so again, we asked if you agreed with the statement, and 80% of you said yes. We again asked you if there was anything missing from the community aspiration statement. And you can see here that there's a reference to environmental sustainability that could be integrated into the aspiration statement. We then tested the strategic themes that sit below the 10-year aspiration statement. So there are 5 themes here. I'm going to go through each in turn. So we asked you if you thought that there were any themes missing from that list of 5 I just showed. And 70% of you said no. So in this instance, no is actually a good rating because we're asking if you think there's anything missing. And so a lot of you said no, that list is pretty comprehensive. We also asked if there was any themes that you'd like to add. And so some of you suggest that we could consider including or updating a theme related to the culture and arts, as it's something that could be its own theme or fit as a sub-theme under any of the 5 themes displayed. We then took each theme in turn, starting with the built environment. And you can see this is the goal for the built environment statement. We develop a well-planned built environment that provides for future growth and investment, which supports our existing community, businesses, and visitors. We again asked you if you agree with this theme and goal. So in this instance, only 60% of you said yes. And we asked what you thought was missing from this theme. And there was a question specifically on how this theme fits with the next one on the natural environment. So wanting to understand the differences between themes is something that we need to consider in the next iteration of the draft. We also asked you what activities the council should be focusing on in relation to the built environment theme. And so you can see here that some people suggest partnering with neighbouring councils, for example, Echuca, and that getting synergy across the twin towns is something that's desirable to people. Some other suggestions for different activities on the built environment is around the beautification of facilities, as well as completing all streets with landscaped areas. So you're wanting to see a bit of an improvement in your built environment. On the theme of our natural environment, we tested this statement with the community. We value our natural environment that is accessible, sustainable, well-managed, and healthy. And this is what we heard from you. 80% of you agree with this goal. But in terms of what's missing from this theme, there's a lot of references made by a few people to the rivers and streams. And someone noted that we're surrounded on all sides by rivers and streams, and that should be mentioned in our community strategic plan. Some of the activities that you want the council to focus on in relation to the natural environment is an improvement of walking tracks for all, as well as supporting farmers to secure water access as something that you think is really important when it comes to natural environment. On the theme of our people, the goal that we tested with you all was we enable our people to experience a healthy, inclusive, culturally rich lifestyle through services, facilities, and community activities. And 90% of you agree with this theme. And we had some wording suggestion feedback as well, that potentially we could rename this theme from our people to our community to make it a little bit less internally focused and a bit more expansive. The kinds of activities you'd like the council to be focusing on over the next few years is an improvement of recreational spaces and facilities, amplifying the arts and culture in our community, as we've got great festivals and we can continue to build on these, and a need to maintain community belonging as well. For the theme of our economy, the goal that we tested with you was that we aspire to have a prosperous economy where traditional and new industries have opportunities for future growth and investment. 85% of you agreed with this statement. And you had some wording suggestions in terms of what's missing from this theme. So wanting to see innovation, agriculture, tourism, excellence included, because at the moment for this person, that's not a particularly inspirational theme. And so some of the activities that you think the council should be focusing on in relation to our economy as a theme is to support the growth and innovation of agriculture. So a food distribution hub and manufacturing precinct for commodity producers to value add local products. And also to continue developing the business sector and the needs of new businesses and industries is something that came through as important as well. And finally, our leadership. The goal that we tested with you here is that we provide leadership and governance that meets the changing needs of our diverse community. 80% of you agreed with this theme and goal, and some of you made some suggestions around how it could be worded and some slight changes. So potentially changing it to, we are always striving and constantly trying to improve our leadership and governance. And some of the activities that you'd like the council to focus on here is leveraging the local expertise within council. So utilising local people in these roles that are in touch with the area. And so seeing this is a community strategic plan, that's an example of a suggestion that really helps connect this plan back into the community. So what happens next? We've heard that feedback from you all, and as I mentioned before, a much more detailed version of that can be found on the Your Say Murray River platform available for download. But in terms of what happens next in this process, we now are going to refine the draft CSP within council, as you can see here, number 3. And then in April 2021, we're going to be displaying the draft plans for your input again. So we're really keen to hear your perspectives on the next version of the draft. But you'll see that the journey doesn't end there. There are 5 other steps taking us all the way to June 2022 when the community strategic plan is adopted. So we've got plenty of time to get your input and feedback and make sure that we get this plan right. We're going to be working with the Mayor and councillors and the Murray River Council to review your feedback on these statements and update the draft content. We're going to be feeding these updates back in the next month or so in a second video. You'll be able to review more detail on the community's feedback on the Have Your Say Murray River site. And as I mentioned, we'll upload that detailed PDF for any of you that are interested in accessing more information. Thanks very much.